Hello. Today I want to talk some more about duality. Duality changes as consciousness changes. Here in the world, we have the consciousness of the relative field. We are either waking or dreaming or sleeping. This consciousness of the relative field is full of duality, full of the pairs of opposites, hot and cold, near and far, great and small. The relative field is a world of multiplicity with many pairs of opposites. Consciousness of self, however, the field of the absolute, is the field of unity. There is no duality in pure consciousness. When the relative field is transcended, then the experience is of self. The experience is of the unified field of natural law. In time, when there is repeated and regular transcending of the relative field in your meditation practice, when there is repeated and regular experiencing of the field of the absolute, that is divine being, yourself, then in time, you rise to that very status of the absolute. You rise to the status of divine being, the unity of pure consciousness. Now duality shifts and changes. Now duality is your holding of two separate states of consciousness at the same time. The holding of the consciousness of the relative field, the waking, dreaming, or sleeping, and the holding of the consciousness of the unified field, the consciousness that never changes. Now duality is lived as consciousness of self alongside consciousness of the relative field. But the duality, its nature continues to change as consciousness changes. When one is established in oneself, established in the unified field of divine being, then devotion begins to grow in one's heart. Devotion to one's personal God. As devotion grows, the relative field is perceived in its most finest celestial values. It is perceived as one's personal God made manifest here in the world. So now duality shifts. There is still consciousness of the relative field, but in its most refined celestial values, held alongside the consciousness of self. This is the duality in God consciousness, self and finest relative celestial. But consciousness continues to develop to Brahmi Chaitana, to unity consciousness. First, all beings, the entire relative field, is seen in the self. Now there is no duality between self and relative, but there is duality between self and personal God. And then that dissolves. Self the relative field, their separation all dissolves into the unity of totality, into the unity of Brahm, unity consciousness, Brahmi Chaitana. There is no duality. There is one consciousness of God alone. There is only Brahm. Thank you, beloved Guru. All glory be to thee.